not necessarily
But
your
that's now
LSP.
another form.
Right.
Or would it be another form or just information on existing forms with perhaps another question?
Well, the point that was brought up is there are forms in which the LSP opines and
I
they stamp
see
them,
what you're
and then there are other forms that don't require that. So
Yeah.
it can be, with the
Yeah, I see what
marvels
you're
of technology that we have now, we get that's kind of a procedural thing, how to best do it, make it simple and make it clear.
I guess related to what he was bringing up about the, the cost of a claim versus the benefit or whatever. Has there been any thought about the relationship with the 21J program? Specifically, they have the ability, especially if you go to the appeal process or whatever, there's a decision made for it to be an eligible expense. And so then, you're effectively taking money from one government bucket to pay another government bucket. And what's the value for the Commonwealth if that occurs?
Well, that question did come up before when we started exploring this, and did come up following the advisory committee meeting, and so we're looking further into that to make sure we understand which, among those 517, which might possibly.
Right.
But I think under the 21J program, costs are only recoverable if they, I haven't looked at this for a while, but if they, if there's been a resolution at civil trial.
No, not for, you mean the reimbursement?
Yeah,
The routine
yeah.
reimbursement for 21J.
Not routine reimbursement, but the question is whether if someone goes through this adjudicatory appeals process, whether that, and there's a judgment, right? Is that what happens when these, I'm not a lawyer, but adjudicatory process, that whether the judgment is reimbursable, and I think our feeling is that it is.
It is, yeah. Thoughts are.
But I think under 21J, a third-party settlement needs to be court approved.
Right.
Which these would not be.
Right.
And so then you'd have if there was any money involved, you'd have the PRP saying, I need to appeal my adjudicatory so as to preserve my ability to make a 21J, which is just, gets a little nuts. So that has to get thought through.
Yes, you don't want to give people an incentive to challenge this.
Mhm.
And one other loose, fussy legal question is,
Is that redundant?
the AG's involvement in this process, because actually isn't it the AG's settlement, since it's a claim of the Commonwealth, isn't it the AG who has to ultimately either somehow or other for the PRP to have the assurance that this is complete and final settlement with the Commonwealth? Because this is not purely regulatory. There is a claim of the Commonwealth.
By statute, if it's less than $100,000, we only have to notify the AG, we don't have to consult them.
So you would notify generically for the program, or you would?
Well, we would notify
each
them
one
that
of these?
we're settling.
Each
for
one
them.
by one?
Yeah, I don't know how, or
Yeah.
administratively how
Yeah,
that would work.
we
in
could-
But you thought about it?
Yeah.
We could set it up, particularly if this being done online, where if the PRP fills out the form, cuts the check, it's in our 21-day presumptive review, we can set up systems where the AG's office gets an email when that comes in. And they'll have 21 days to look at it as well.
Thanks.
I would just, if you haven't already, it's just wetland resource, that term. If you say wetlands, is it an actual wetland or is it a wetland resource? In terms of like floodplain.
Yeah.
river
Isolated
bottom.
land subject to flooding,
Yeah.
all that.
Then if I had a release in a pavement in an area with no shoreline pretty much, and I triggered 3 resources.
Well, I think you could speak to the fields that you look to pull out the 517.
Yeah, so if the media receptor was characterized as surface water, wetlands, or water, then it fell into the 517.
So I'm thinking more moving forward with what
Yeah.
the regulations say. regulations say is they have to impact the physical waterway,
Yeah.
not
Yes.
wetland resource.
If you stopped it before it went downhill on that pavement,
I mean,
Then I
practically,
would
we didn't pull anything that just went to pavement,
So did I.
or just went to ground and didn't, but I see your point
Right.
about
Yeah.
being, yeah, yeah.
Right, I-
Thankfully, they only have jurisdiction to recover damage to a natural resource of the Commonwealth. So
Correct.
that may not be identical to what is subject to jurisdiction under the
Right.
Wetlands Protection Act, and certainly won't be really, although it's gonna be close.
correct.
And they just have to tie it to something where you can establish it, it's a natural
Yeah,
resource.
we do have a preliminary draft. I don't think we ever even use the term wetland resource or wetlands, or we may, but.
I think we use surface waters of the Commonwealth. But
Yeah,
I
and-
take his point about making sure people are clear about the distinctions.
There's
Right.
the buffer zone to the wetland, but then there's the actual wetland itself. It sounds like you were in a buffer zone, where the
Different.
Conservation Commission has jurisdiction, but it may not, there may not be some damage.
Right,
Our intent was not to.
yeah, right. We don't want to make sure of that, like the chapter 9 and chapter 91, waterways. And when you say waterways, the Commonwealth,
Well, waters,
Waters.
water,
It's like a flood zone, may not be,
Right, so
natural
it
resource
does
at all.
need to be clear, as much as I would love it to include, like it went in the storm drain, and the storm drain goes into the river, and so your oil line in the storm drain means all these other water is gonna go through it or whatever. That's not jurisdictional, it's not jurisdictional.
Right, but
if it comes
Well,
out.
If it comes- but if it comes out,
The outfall and it hits the
right,
wetland of the river on the other end.
right.
Well, again, the trick is to not think about it as a wetland. Think about natural resources. Doesn't matter if it's both over and under inclusive.
Right, but if it's like forested, if it's just a grassy area, right? If it's a
Right.
parkland or
Just did not look at
forested.
anything that did not reach the waters.
Right,
So if
yeah.
it was completely confined to an upland habitat, those are natural resources, but that is not this.
Why
Natural resource
not?
damage.
That you can claim damages for that under the Fed and the DOI regs, but that is not this.
One of your slides listed air
I was gonna say,
Right.
as a natural
Because just-
resource.
It is, and
Not
some
to-
states, for example, if they've had a particularly large spill of any, in this case, oil in Minnesota, because there were air quality standards exceeded, it was part of their overall claim, but that's not built into this model. But it's conceivable that in a comprehensive assessment, it is something that we could look at. It is part of our route. I just want to see,
You can't include it if it's not, it doesn't trigger.
right, exactly,
It
for
by
this.
itself doesn't trigger.
Well, it
for
could,
this.
actually, not for this.
It could trigger for
Not
any other
Right,
assessment.
for
But for this, no.
for this meeting right now.
Right,
Yes.
yeah, right.
we're talking about standardized oil to water as opposed to there could be an assessment and you could get involved if somebody, the tanker that was driving through the fells dumped a huge ton, but it was upland and it made an incredible mess in the woods, there could be a conversation about natural resources and their impacts, but it's not part of the standard thing we're talking about, and it's not a standard thing that you do.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
I just want to see, I thought I heard someone possibly starting to ask a question on the phone, and if there's anyone left on the phone, does anyone have a question?
I think that was.
Kara, this is Heidi. I have a lot of questions to ask right now. Unfortunately, I have to go to another meeting for this thing of mine.
It is 3:30.
Okay, well, feel free to email me your questions, because we're going to keep sharing questions and answers with each other as we move forward.
Okay, thanks, and I'll look for emails from you.
Great, thanks.
What other states